Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? It is patch day once again. Patch 20 is with us, and we have all the details for you today. So we have the Legendary Run, the brand new first season for the new Fallout 76 Seasons Pass, and we also have public teams arriving today as well. So let's jump in, take a look at all the details, and see what they've got for us, along with, of course, all the bug fixes as well. Fallout 76 Update 20 Patch Notes, June 30th, 2020. So we're releasing Update 20 today, which kicks off the Legendary Run, the first season in our new progression and reward system. It also includes public teams, a new social system that will make teaming up easier and more beneficial than ever. This update brings a number of additional improvements and bug fixes to Fallout 76, so be sure to read on and catch the patch notes. So, Update 20 highlights in general, 76 seasons, the Legendary Run, and public teams. So the patch will be 4GB on PC if you're on BethesdaNet, 4.3 if you're on Steam, 11.2 on PS4, and 11.6 on Xbox. So big patches if you're on the consoles, but smaller for PC for some bizarre reason. So 76 seasons, the first thing, and the thing I think most of us are most excited for. I know there's mixed opinions, but I think this is going to be a very good addition to the game. Looking forward to trying it out, hopefully later this evening. Failing that, it'll be tomorrow. But either way, we'll be getting to it. So, earn score, rank up, and claim rewards. Today's patch adds a new 76 seasons to the game, which includes a new account-wide progression system that will overhaul the current challenges and offer you tons of in-game rewards. Our first season is called the Legendary Run, and everyone can join in the fun and start earning rewards for free immediately following today's patch maintenance. So, we've highlighted how 76 Season and the Legendary Run will work below. If you'd like even more details, please check out the Inside the Vault article or visit the Seasons page on Fallout.com. If you want to find these links, as per, the link to the patch notes will be down in description. And as well, I will link up in the corner here to the previous videos covering these topics in a little bit more detail. But let's have a quick go over the ins and outs that they have for us in the patch notes today. So, Race Among the Stars. This is the Legendary Run, the first season. We've added a new option in the main menu for the Legendary Run, which will allow you to access and view the Season 1 progression screen, keep track of your rewards, and preview all of the available rewards. You can also do that on the BethesdaNet website. Legendary Run progression screen features a Captain Cosmos-inspired board game in which you will race across the galaxy against the evil Dr. Zorbo. Your progression is represented as a spaceship game piece on the board. Can you beat Dr. Zorbo to the finish line before the 10-week season comes to an end? So that's mid-September. So you'll begin the Legendary Run at rank 1. That's actually the first time they've come out and actually specified what rank you start at, although we did figure this out last time. And you can advance your position on the board by earning score through daily and weekly challenges. There are also some other bits and pieces that will earn you score points as well, which you can find out more details on in the video, as I said, linked in the corner. Each time you achieve a new rank, you will be able to claim a new reward, like unique armors, camp items, weapon skins, power armor paints, armor skins, consumables, perk card packs, atoms, and even in-game currencies like script, caps, or gold bullion. There are 100 ranks achieved in total during Season 1, and more than 40 new cosmetic items up for grabs along the way. All players will play using the same progression of reward path, which means everyone is working towards the same rewards through the entire season. Starting 2 weeks after the Legendary Run begins, players will have the option to spend 150 atoms to immediately unlock the next rank and claim its reward. But note, ranks must be purchased individually and in order. So, as I've said a few times before, I know people have concerns regarding the pay-to-win side of this, being able to buy ranks with atoms. You've got 2 weeks before you're able to do that, which is kind of neither here nor there, I suppose, in some ways. But it is what it is, nonetheless. And to do it, you would have to purchase each rank one by one for a cost of 150 atoms. If you were to buy all 99, 100 ranks, whichever way you want to look at it, that will basically come out at roughly £90 worth of atoms. So the majority of people will not be doing this. It has been suggested by numerous people, and I have repeated it a couple of times as well, that the most likely scenario is that towards the end of the season, when people have a couple of ranks left to grab, or something like that, they'll use atoms to just round out their progression if they've not quite made it in time. Seems to be a reasonable assessment of the most likely scenario. Few people have also had concerns regarding the fact that this replaces the current challenge system and you won't be getting atoms from daily and weekly challenges. In short, I don't think that's a major problem. You will still get atoms, even, from progressing through the Legendary Run and the season, and that's going to carry on, obviously, with the subsequent seasons as well. But you'll be getting less of them. That's significantly offset, however, by the fact that you take these atoms, you head to the atomic shop, and you buy stuff to use in-game with them. And through the challenge system, the new season system, you will basically get those things directly instead. Selection is in some ways less dynamic, I suppose. You're not picking your own thing, but there is quite a sizable number. We look at 40 new cosmetic items plus camp objects and other bits and pieces as well. So essentially, you're just kind of cutting out the middleman in some ways. So ultimately, I don't feel like anybody's going to be any worse off for using this system, and it'll certainly be more fun and I think much more practical from what Bethesda have said, and generally an improvement. It'll give you something that's worth working towards rather than just grinding out a couple of daily missions, which will also contribute to your score as well, which is also a cool thing. Daily and weekly challenges have received significant updates with today's patch. Daily and weekly challenges now award score instead of atoms. Completing them is the primary way to progress a new season. So, Nuclear Winter daily challenges and weekly challenges now also award score in addition to their other awards. We've streamlined the daily and weekly challenges you receive so they're more straightforward and easier to complete. So you'll no longer get some ridiculous even, obscure requirement to achieve your challenge. You'll just have something that is practical and hopefully more rooted in regular gameplay. So whilst you can focus on achieving these, you should make progress even if you don't particularly want to, which is cool to see. You'll get at least some of the earlier rewards. And some of those earlier rewards are actually some of the best things on the board, I suppose, or some of the best rewards you can get from the system. So most people should be getting some of the coolest rewards, which is really cool to see. It's a really good way of setting up. I think Bethesda have done well there. So you can access your daily and weekly challenges directly from the Legendary Run progression screen while you are in a game. If you would like to keep an eye on your progress towards specific challenges, you can add them to the challenge tracker from the challenge menu. Never really thought much of the challenge tracker, but for those who do like to use that, there you go, it's there. You can do that for this system as well. Lifetime challenges, like character, social and world challenges, have not been changed. Those are functioning the same way they always did, and they still grant the same atom rewards they always have done. So, to claim your prizes, after ranking up, head to the Legendary Run progression screen to claim your rewards directly from the corresponding rank on the game board. That should be accessible either in World or from the main menu. Should be both, but we'll see obviously later on today. When you unlock consumables like repair kits or in-game currencies like caps, they will only apply to one character. This they've mentioned before, but always good to reiterate. So you've got to make sure you have the right character selected when you claim that reward. So if you're on the main menu, presumably it'll give you the option to pick which character you'd like them to be credited to. And if you're in-game, presumably it will use the character you're logged in with. So bear that in mind if you're collecting a consumable or a currency-based reward. All the other rewards, like skins and camp items, they are account-bound. So every single character you have will have access to them, same as if you bought something in the Atomic Shop. Learn more about rewards you can unlock during the Legendary Run, including lunchbox consumables, the ammo converter, and more, by visiting our recent Season 1 kickoff article on Fallout.com. Again, links here, you can find it via the link in the description, or you can look at the previous video, you know where to find it. Lunchboxes are a new consumable, effectively, that are being added with this system. Basically, they'll give you extra XP for an hour, usually 25%. If you're in a group, then the rewards will stack, or at least the XP rewards will stack, so you can go up to 100% XP for an hour. That's if all 4 people have activated a lunchbox. They also come with a secondary social rewards, such as increased damage against a certain enemy type, for example, super mutants. There are a different selection of those. Those don't stack directly, although you can have multiple versions running at the same time. So one player could activate one that gives you extra damage against super mutants, another might go with Scorch, another might go with Mirelux, so on and so forth. You get the general idea. But they won't stack. If 2 players end up with 2 super mutant bonuses, you still get the same, I believe it's 15% bonus. So that is what it is. But the XP rewards, they do stack. Again, only if you're in a team though. Speaking of teams, the other big feature coming today, public teams. Our new public team system makes grouping up with others easier than ever and offers special bonuses to players who choose to play together and work towards a shared team goal. Join a public team. We've added a new public teams tab to the top of the social menu that you can select to browse through all of your public teams in the current world. Every public team has its own team goal set by the team leader, like exploration or events, which can help you find like-minded players to join. Public teams have up to 4 members at once. As long as there is an open spot, you can click on one of those teams in the list and join it immediately. You can also do it by the map, because the team leader will appear on the map with a unique icon, and if you mouse over that, you will get details on what the group is doing and how many people are in it, much like you would with events, but obviously specific to this. So, creating your own team. If there is not a team that is available that is doing what you want to do, or if you just want to create your own team for whatever reason, you can do that by heading over to the social menu again and selecting the Create New Team option. From there, you'll select a goal for the team, which is 6 to choose from at the moment, hunting, which is legendary hunting, specifically, legendary enemies, roleplay, events, exploration, building, and casual. So, once you've selected a goal, all players in your current world will receive a notification that a new public team is available. Your public team notification will not appear to players you've blocked, and vice versa. Expanding on this little point, the blocked system that currently exists for regular groups and against other players basically stops other players from seeing you and what you're doing, and you from seeing what they're doing, and vice versa. Basically applies in much the same way to public teams as it does with anything else. It's just been added to this system. So anybody you've blocked basically stays blocked on public teams as much as anything else. Multiple public teams of the same type can exist at once, so you can choose any team goal you wish. As a team leader, you can freely choose to change your team goal at any time using the social menu. Worth bearing in mind, if your group members don't particularly want to do the new thing you're changing to, they may well leave, so probably worth discussing that with them first. If needed, you have the ability to kick or block any players from your public team. That's presumably, from the look of this, pound to the team leader is the only person who can do that, but if somebody's causing problems, you can give them the boot. And you can also block them as well so they can't come back and cause more problems. You can also invite your friends and other players to join a private team, so the existing group up system as it currently is, and then convert that into a public team later using the social menu. And the note here basically covers that if you team up with anybody either via a direct invite or via the social menu, not going through the public team system, it will default to a private team as per the way it does currently. That way you're not finding yourself in a public team if you don't want to be in one. You've got to make that choice directly, which is a good move. So, worth noting here, if you do want to create a public team with your friends, join up together as a private team first, change it to public teams, and then the remaining slots can be filled by a random person. So, the best way to do it to make sure you're in a group with your friends if you still want to do the public team system. So, team goals and bonds. I've mentioned a few times that if you join up with public teams, you get certain buffs and advantages for doing that. Nothing life-changing, but they are quite cool to have nonetheless. So, the way that works in simple terms is, when on a public team, you receive a small buff that is themed to align with the current goal. Over time, you and your new teammates will form bonds. Each bonded teammate will add another stack to your team goal buff. So, the buffs are, if you're in a legendary hunting team, you'll get 25% XP bonus for killing legendary creatures, and that goes up to 100% if you've got 4 fully bonded team members. It takes a little while for these bonds to kick in, but I shouldn't imagine it's terribly long, probably something like 15-20 minutes, at a guess. But as you increase the number of players in your team, and the bonds kick in, you get bigger bonuses, obviously specific to each goal. So roleplay will have +1 charisma as your basic one, and it goes up to +4 for a fully bonded team. Events give you plus 25% XP for completing events, up to 100%. Exploration gives you +1 to endurance, up to +4. Building gives you +1 to intelligence, up to +4. And casual gives you +1 to luck, again, up to +4. So it has been pointed out that the building intelligence one in particular is quite good because it covers a lot of things. You can get extra XP bonuses from everything you do, and so on and so forth. Worth noting that if you create a public team to take advantage of that, however, and you're not building, you may well find people get annoyed and go elsewhere. So, something to think about before you try and take advantage of that in a way that it's not intended. But, on the other hand, if you discuss it beforehand, maybe you'll work just fine. If you go from a private team with all your friends, for example, and you want the intelligence bonus, set it to building. You've got a full group of 4 already. It doesn't matter from what other people are doing, because they're not going to be joining. So you can then take advantage of whatever bonus you happen to like, I suppose. So that's not a bad way of going around and getting that bonus if you're in a regular group anyway. You and your teammates will not be able to build at each other's camp if you're in a public team, but you can do it if you're in a private team. So that system, in a sense, is not changing, but public team members won't be able to build at your camp. They won't be able to open any unlocked containers without being made wanted. Whereas, as I say, in a private team, you can do that. That just stops people messing around with your camp, really, if they're wanting to try and abuse the public team system. So a good consideration on Bethesda's part there, I think. Relating to that, in fact, is obviously with the building thing. If they can't build in your camp, that basically means the only place you will be able to build is public workshops. So Hopefully that means we'll see more people doing more interesting builds and things at public workshops, something I would like to do when they eventually make private worlds a bit more viable on that front, and basically make public workshops persistent in a private world. But until they do that, it won't really affect me, I don't think. And you can catch additional information about this by reading our Public Teams overview article on Fallout.com, link in the patch notes, and patch notes in the description as per. So, a couple of design updates that relate to public teams. It's Team PvP. We've adjusted the rules of Team PvP so that for both private and public teams, this affects both sets, so that a team member who engages in PvP with a person who is not on the team will not be also flagging their teammates. Previously, if one person engaged in PvP, you were all in. Now, nobody will be able to drag you into it against your will, which is the general idea. Good to see that this little change will prevent people causing problems for other people in that regard as well. So, good little change. And as a little addition in terms of sound, they've changed some of the tunes in the Atomic Shop to match up to the Legendary Run. So we've got some sort of space-sounding music, presumably, in the Atomic Shop now. A couple of UI changes that tie into all of this stuff as well. Icons based on community feedback. We've added a unique mole miner themed icon to the map and in the compass to better indicate the purveyor's location. Okay, fair enough. I suppose the Rusty Pick was just marked the same way as it always was, so there's that. But I think most of us know where the purveyor is anyway by now, so probably unnecessary, but if people are asking for it, why not? Teammate map markers have been enlarged and animated to make them easier to identify, so definitely in keeping with the public teams thing. Additionally, teammate names and player icons now only appear on your map when you hover over them, so they're bigger and easier to see, but it should be overall less cluttered, so that's not such a bad thing. And a little tweak to the settings in terms of the chat volume. It's now independent of the master volume settings, so you can change your in-game audio levels, bring them down a little bit, so that you can hear voice chat more clearly. So, bug fixes. As per usual, there are a reasonable number here. There's a few that I would have liked to have seen that apparently are not on the list, which is a bit unfortunate. As per, it'll take forever to go through them all, so I've just picked out a few particularly interesting ones to highlight, and if you guys want to see them, well, they'll be up on screen in general anyway, but you can head to the patch notes down in the description, or you can find it all over on social media and via BethesdaNet as well, and you can check them out for yourselves. There's some good stuff in here that might interest people other than me, and there's some things that, as I say, I think are particularly interesting that I want to highlight. So we've got a whole load of art and animation bug fixes as per usual, nothing fascinating, a few animations and skin-related things are now functioning properly. Some changes to camps and workshops that I am particularly interested in. Firstly, containers. They fixed an issue preventing items from being assigned to fermenters, vending machines, kegs, punch bowls, and refrigerators when your camp budget is maxed out. So that should work properly now, which is good to see. They've addressed an exploit to camp budget related to the circus cage, for those who managed to pick that up during the Treasure Hunter event a few weeks ago. So that should no longer be an issue. The grain silo should now place properly and not be placeable floating. So apparently it could just place in such a way as it was floating in midair, and that won't happen anymore, which is good. Punji boards can no longer be stacked one on top of the other. Didn't really know it was a thing. It's probably going to be an issue with placing them closer together now, which is unfortunate, but it means you can no longer stack them on one on top of the other. I'm guessing that was stacking the damage as well, which is probably what the issue was, but nonetheless, that's a change. The Red Rocket garage door, which I believe is an Atomic Shop item, has been fixed so that the issue causing it to be replaced by an incorrect and non-functional item no longer exists, so that should function as it should do. The CD shed, allies and collectrons can now enter and exit more easily, good to see. Nice little item added in the Atomic Shop a while ago, that one, and yeah, it was a bit awkward to get in and out, so hopefully that will be a bit smoother now. They'll have improved the pathing. Survival tent. The no build area around it no longer remains in the world after the tent owner logs out or switches worlds. Didn't know it was really an issue, but then don't have Fallout first, so why would I? But that will no longer prevent you from building in the same area where somebody previously placed a survival tent, which is a nice little fix. Very situational, but good nonetheless. Turrets. Fix an issue causing turrets that have been destroyed and repaired to have significant delay when engaging enemies. Please note, turrets are still intended to take 2 to 3 seconds to acquire a target and begin firing. So I suppose that's a somewhat realism thing. But they should function much more effectively now when you repair them, which is cool. So a couple of changes to the remaining challenges. Fix an issue that could cause daily and weekly challenges to complete themselves automatically. I've seen a few things on Twitter in particular where people have said they've had issues with challenges completing themselves automatically and not rewarding the rewards they're supposed to give. That has been adjusted. This is definitely a good time to be doing that. It's good to see. A couple of other points on that front as well there. But they've also added the importance of communication, photo opportunity, retirement plan, and vital equipment, basically the new dailies that are tied to the factions, to the challenge to complete different daily quests. So those will now cause that challenge to update, which is cool. Changes to combat. They've addressed an issue that could result in a player becoming invulnerable after dying under specific circumstances. And charging weapons, like Gauss weapons or the bow, now correctly deal damage based on how much they have been charged when fired in VATS. That's interesting. I didn't actually realise that the bow counted as a charged weapon. I got the impression that as long as you even partially drew the bow back, it just did its damage. But it turns out you need to be at full draw to do full damage. So that makes sense, but I didn't know it was a thing. Good to know about. It doesn't seem that they fixed the issue with the bow with ADSing with the bow, causing you to be unable to interact with either your Pip-Boy or any other object. Simple fix when you run into that is basically to knock another arrow, ADS, and then put your bow away, and it solves the problem. But unfortunately, I was hoping they might have fixed that. It seems they have not. So, a couple of item fixes. Again, the ones that caught my eye, mods can now correctly be applied to robot armor arm pieces, which is good. And the Shadowed mod now applies to all different armor types, which, yeah, that's been a long-standing minor irritation that definitely needed fixing. Good to see that. A couple of changes to the bow. Standard arrow range for the bow and the compound bow have now been reduced to match all other arrow types. So, different arrow types for shooting less distance than the standard ones. Standard ones have been brought down to match up with that. And bows and crossbows with the plasma mod now correctly deal energy damage in addition to their normal damage. Didn't realise it wasn't doing that, actually, but good to know that should now function better. Which means the plasma arrows do more damage. One thing I am not happy about in seeing this is the direction they've taken it. They've reduced the range on standard arrows rather than increasing the range for everything else. And I think this is a bad thing in general because, frankly, the drop-off and the range for the bow is ridiculously short. You have to aim high to hit targets further away, as you'd expect, but the distance at which that becomes effective is far too low. Bows shoot much further than that. Much more easily than they do in the game, so that really needs adjusting. The range on bows is pathetic. That's one of the bad things about them. And that definitely needs fixing. The drop-off is absurd, so shrinking this is a step in the wrong direction, in my opinion. Yes, having things match up is good, but they should have matched it up by increasing the range, not decreasing it. So, personally, I think that's a mistake, but it's a change, it's there, and it's worth knowing about. Okay, so with the Plasma Caster, there was an issue wherein once you learnt how to create the prime receiver, you couldn't craft ammo for the Ultrasight Plasma Caster. Now, that will correctly grant you the ability to craft the ammo for it at the same time as the appropriate receiver, so you can now actually load your Ultrasight Plasma Caster, which is good to know. And Under Armour. A number of mod plans have been added to the game for the Secret Service Under Armour. You can purchase them from Rigs in Vault 79 using gold bullion. So just an expansion of what you can do with your Secret Service Under Armour, which is, I don't know about a bug fix, but it's a nice little addition to the game. I think that will probably belong further up the list, but there we go. So, some significant changes to NPCs here that I think a lot of people will be glad to know about. Beckett now correctly offers daily quests after completing his main quest line. They fix an issue that could prevent the Raider Punk from offering new daily quests. The message that appears when scrapping the Raider Punk's radio now correctly indicates that all of his equipped items will be removed if you happen to have given him a different outfit. Crater. They fixed an issue that previously allowed enemies to attack Axel, Creed and Roxy in Crater. Roxy is now stationary, can always be found leaning against the school bus in Crater. She did wander around a lot and it was kind of a pain to find her sometimes, so that's simplified that daily a little bit. Smiley, who is based in the Wayward. If you want to buy gold bullion for caps, it will no longer take caps off you when attempting to purchase gold bullion when you've already reached the weekly limit. So you can no longer give him caps and get nothing in return, which is a good little fix. Ward, over at Foundation, is now stationary, can always be found sitting behind his desk in the trailer at Foundation. He wandered around before, it was kind of annoying to find him sometimes. Now at least we know he'll always be in the trailer in the right spot. That's cool. And Ren is now stationary, can always be found at her console. Don't really think she needed that much of a change. She stayed in that one building anyway, so it didn't really make too much difference, but okay. She'll be, a couple of meters easier to find. There we go. Whole load of fixes to performance and stability as per usual, mostly to do with crashes that should hopefully no longer be an issue. Always welcome. So, a couple of changes to perks that are good, a couple of fixes. The Cannibal perk now no longer allows players to eat non-humanoid corpses, so that's a good little change. Can only eat humanoids, whereas before you could presumably use it to eat any animal, possibly even robots as well, which would be a bit weird, so it's now functioning as intended. Hard Bargain now correctly reduces Duchess's prices at the Wayward as well, which apparently it wasn't doing. Mysterious Stranger should now attack when he activates, as opposed to sometimes where he just turn up and stand there. Perk card packs. They've fixed the bug preventing some perk cards from appearing in packs, so certain ones that should have been appearing weren't, they now will, with the same random effect as ever. A few fixes to quests and events, some of which are more interesting than others, but worth having a look at if you've had some problems with specific quests. A couple of sound changes, a whole load of UI changes as per, UI fixes rather. Not what I was hoping for in this section, as I said before, but a couple that are good, or that I've noticed anyway. Healing radiation damage via a decontamination shower, rad away, etc. no longer displays a positive number of rads above the health bar in the HUD, i.e. it was basically implying that you took 200 radiation damage when you used a decontamination shower, but it healed you anyway, but it gave feedback as if you were taking damage, which is weird, but that won't happen anymore, which is good. And there's a fix for a respawn issue, which caused players to lose carry weight bonuses while dead, presumably from armor or from any chems you might have taken, or grill rad stag, stuff like that. Now those will persist beyond death, so that you won't find yourself stuck with respawning at Vault 76 and nowhere else, which is cool to see, and hopefully means they'll stop you suddenly finding yourself over-encumbered after you've died, which I've noticed a couple of times. I'll be glad to see. As I say, there are a few other UI fixes, so that's worth having a look at, but not fascinating. And finally, a couple of fixes to Nuclear Winter as well. Specifically, they've addressed an exploit that could allow players to become immune to taking damage from the storm and from taking radiation damage, so hopefully that will fix the case of people sitting outside just attacking people and winning, or basically just surviving because the storm can't hurt them and just winning by default as well. So that should fix that particular issue. And a localization fix, so those attempting to join Nuclear Winter while running a non-English version of the game no longer disconnect the player for having modified game files. Basically, it thought if you were playing in another language other than English, you were cheating. It no longer makes that mistake, which is good to see. And they fixed an issue causing attacks with the overly generous perk card equipped to dealing less than the intended amount of radiation damage. So if you have that perk attached, it should now deal the appropriate level of radiation damage. So, all in all, smaller patch than we were expecting. Just the two features with the seasons and the new public teams feature. Both nice features. Good to see them both coming in. Very much looking forward, particularly to 76 seasons. It'll give you something more to be doing with your time, especially as I think, like me, most people have probably completed Wastelanders at least once by now. Probably more than once in my case. So that's definitely a good addition. It'll give you a bit more reason to play the game a bit more often. And while we wait for the autumn to roll around with the new Brotherhood of Steel quests and the new daily content that will be coming at that time. So very good things to look forward to. A couple of things they did remove though. The Wendigo Colossus event, which was a colossal problem. Unfortunately, that's not quite where they want it. It's generally working. So that should hopefully be appearing in their next patch once they've polished it a bit. And then we're also supposed to be releasing legendary perks at this time. That was removed a couple of weeks ago, as basically the feedback on that was quite rightly, this is not what we want. It's not even close. The perks were basically quite crap. The idea that you could turn in other perks that you weren't using for them, that was good. But the perks that you could use for as part of the legendary system were really disappointing. So hopefully they'll overhaul that, and at some point in the future, we'll get a version of the legendary perk system that's actually worth having. So, I've been rambling for quite long enough, as per usual, so I will wrap this one up here. I think there's a couple of pretty good additions. Hopefully we'll have time this evening to jump on. I think we probably will, and we'll be streaming this later on and playing a little bit of 76 and checking out the new systems. So I do hope you will join us for that. But for now, I will say thank you very much for watching. Social media links down below, as always, if you want to catch up with me over there. If you haven't already, please do consider becoming a channel member and maybe checking out the merch store as well. That support is humongously appreciated. We've got some cool stuff down there. All that information down in the description if you're interested in that. For now, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.